Now, the Ukrainian refugee surge has become Europe's biggest humanitarian crisis since the Second World War. Many philanthropic organizations are mobilizing to help governments deal with the situation, including groups that especially focus on Jewish refugees. Well, one of those is the UK's World Jewish Relief, British Jewry's leading international humanitarian and development agency. And joining us from London now is Maurice Helfgott, chair of the World Jewish Relief. Maurice, thanks for joining us. First of all, talk about the efforts now your organization is making to help at that dire situation at the borders of Ukraine.
Well, Erev Tov, Tel Aviv, we here in London, through World Jewish Relief, have been operating for 30 years in Ukraine, helping the Jews there first and foremost during that period. And we have 29 partners on the ground, Ukrainian organizations helping principally the elderly, but also families that are troubled and need help. So what we've been doing in this crisis is using our experience, firstly in Ukraine, and secondly in 20 countries operating around the world, to continue to provide that critical support to the elderly and vulnerable, to help with a number of evacuations and relocations to safer areas, particularly from Kiev, Zaporozhye, and other places. And thirdly, to continue to try and support the organizations that we're working with who are continuing under bombardment where they can, not always, to provide that continuity of support. The second thing we're doing is in the countries around Ukraine, in Poland, in Transnistria, in Moldova, we are providing additional support for refugees. And the final thing we're doing is here in the UK, we have a program welcoming refugees, helping them learn the language and get into work. And we are talking seriously to the British government, encouraging them to be more open for refugees, we'll help there.
Maurice, let me ask you about that effort, because, of course, the UK broke from the EU specifically because of a feeling that, or concern over, even before this situation, Eastern European refugees, for example, among others, coming into the UK. How are those discussions with the British government going on getting them to grant these so-called humanitarian visas?
Well, World Jewish Relief has had a very long history with the British government and with the Home Office. We were set up in 1933 and persuaded the government to let in some, not nearly enough, refugees from Germany and Austria. My father was one of 732 survivors of the Holocaust who came here as an orphan refugee in 1945 through World Jewish Relief and as a result of the Home Office. Since then, you've identified that the British government has some more restrictive policies, and the Prime Minister has said he's going to be very generous, and we are pushing very hard that he translates that desire and words to be very generous into the reality of very generous, which indeed, as you say, is a humanitarian visa, as is being provided effectively in the EU.
Now, you are a philanthropic NGO. What has been the response of for example, the British Jewish community to these efforts? Also, I guess some of your non-Jewish supporters, I understand you even have, is the phrase royal patronage helping you out there?
That's exactly right. So His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, is not just the patron of World Jewish Relief in name. He is the patron of World Jewish Relief in reality. He is engaged, he is interested, he is personally very, very motivated to support us and our work. I had the privilege of being with him yesterday in the center of London at the Ukrainian Catholic Cathedral with the bishop there and a small group of Ukrainian nationals. And he was encouraging our work, supporting our work, and we were coordinating with other groups in the UK who are committed to support this. And in terms of the British Jewish community's response, quite frankly, it is completely overwhelming. We have had over 5,000 donations in just the last couple of days. We have small ones and we have extremely large ones. We have tremendous pledges of support from that. And people don't want to just give money, they want to help. And what we as an organization do are professionally channeling that desire to help into the resources, into effective help.
But Maurice, briefly, I want to ask you, are you able to work with those governments in Eastern Europe to coordinate? Because I understand it's a very chaotic scene there at the borders.
So our principal interest is to work with our existing partners in country. Many of the NGOs do not have any connections or resources in the country at all. So where we can particularly help is to help in Ukraine. And yes, we coordinate with the JDC, with the Jewish Agency, with international organizations, both locally and as much as we can tied up.
All right. Well, it certainly sounds like it's a worthy effort. We wish all of your efforts success. Maurice Helfgott, Chair of World Jewish Relief. Keep up the good work, and our best to you.
Thank you. Laila Tov.